absolutely fucked as farmers, guys. Everything is so fucked, and I do not see anybody surviving.
Sir, you said, I love you. Mr. Trump, I need to see the fruit of your love.
And I've never been as worried as I am now about whether or not my kids and grandkids will be able to carry on. I just would like to see somebody help us get our markets back. We need our exports, and we just need to be paid for what we do. And that's not happening. And we're in real trouble.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being so dumb.
What?
We tried to warn. Never mind.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for some fuck around and find out.
We're just absolutely fucked as farmers, guys. Everything is so fucked, and I do not see anybody surviving this farm crisis that we're in. Guys, look, one of the best splorn crops that I have ever raised in my life. And because of the tariffs, China will not fucking buy it. And they are the only country in the world other than, well, they are the only country in the world that buys splorn. And so now I'm literally just chopping it, blowing it on the fucking ground because it's fucking useless, it's valueless, there's nothing I can fucking do to it.
We're just at the onset and farmers are crying. As you've seen, they are in their FAFO season. So much is going on. They are feeling the impact of their votes and their decisions so greatly right now. Now, the thing is, even if it was to be redone, they would still make the same choices, and that's upsetting, but it is what it is at this point. Anyway, don't forget to share your thoughts down in the comments down below and subscribe to the channel.
And this is just fucking heartbreaking to me. I don't know how I'm gonna survive. You know, Trump said he fucking loved us farmers, and here I am just blowing my splorn crop all over the ground. Hopefully he works a deal out where Antarctica and Mars will start buying this splorn and save the farmers. I'm sorry, splorn crop, but you're fucked.
Now, I've never been as worried as I am now about whether or not my kids and grandkids will be able to carry on.
You said, I love you. Mr. Trump, I need to see the fruit of your love.
5 of my customers have committed. That's how serious that this is.
And what it costs for us to farm is astronomical now.
I farm with paid-for equipment. All my tractors are 50 years old, and I can't hardly make this deal work. I think the tariffs are the ice cream on the cake of a perfect storm.
After a horrible year last year where most farmers in Arkansas Delta lost money, this year's going to be worse.
We made a decision to go out this year in the spring. So my son will not be the seventh generation on our farm.
We're going to lose 25 or 30% of the farmers in this country if they don't do something. It has to be done, and it's not just here. It's everywhere.
So that's what we got for American farmers, is zero empathy.
No, I mean, we did have empathy and we cared. That's why during the election we tried to warn you, but you called it fear-mongering.
We want them to fail.
No, nobody wants farmers to fail because that's terrible for all of us. But again, you were warned before the election. Like, plenty of people were talking about that.
That's what Americans are saying right now is, well, you know, next time you'll vote the right way.
No, we're pretty sure that most of you will never change the way you vote, regardless of how bad things get, so.
Or that's what you get for who you voted for.
To be fair, this is what you voted for.
That, to me, I want to say it doesn't sound very American of people.
I mean, it's not about being American or un-American. It's about the fact that we are where we are because a lot of you, most of you, could not stand the thought of seeing a black woman as president.
But here lately, that's all we're doing is complaining.
No, we're still trying to educate and hoping that enough people will see the light so that we don't make a mistake like this again in future elections.
The last thing I want is an American business to fail.
I don't think anybody wants to see that, but again, everything happening right now is because of the way America voted.
I don't know how much more we're going to see for the next 3 or 4 years.
Well, hopefully we can start to fix things next year if we vote properly in the midterms and put people in office that will actually fight against everything that's happening right now. Hint, that is going to be nobody endorsed by this current administration.
Keep preaching class solidarity and then shitting on every demographic that voted for Trump.
I really just want to address how harmful, how unfair, and how irresponsible this type of sentiment is. You want us to be in solidarity with people who intentionally caused harm to us. To cause harm to black people, indigenous people, and other people of color. And because they are now facing economic issues with it, we're expected to put our sentiments to the side in order to look out for them. This is a situation that continues to happen over and over again, and it is absolutely fucking tiring. You and other white people on the left continue to show that you have more grace and more understanding from white racists, and you are willing to look at that as opposed to the harm that is being done to us. I am absolutely brokenhearted because I have seen multiple black creators, specifically black women, deal with bullshit over and over again from white leftists, and you guys have not let up. But the moment you see farmers actually losing out on cash crops, not being able to feed themselves, not because of the loss of food, but because of the loss of income, you are more willing to see that than you are willing to see us. And it's stuff like that. It is overlooking race. It is overlooking the harms that racism does. That is the reason why there will be no solidarity.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for some fuck around and find out. We saw it in North Carolina and Texas when Trump massively cut FEMA. We saw it in Missouri when a Republican congressman was yelled at by his own constituents to get his head out of Trump's ass. Well, now it's time for Fuck Around and Find Out, the Farmers Edition, specifically Arkansas.
Now, I've never been as worried as I am now about whether or not my kids and grandkids will be able to carry on.
He said, I love you, Mr. Trump. I need to see the fruit of your love.
What it costs for us to farm is astronomical now.
I farm with paid-for equipment. All my tractors are 50 years old, and I can't hardly make this deal work. I think the tariffs are the ice cream on the cake of a perfect storm.
After a horrible year last year where most farmers in Arkansas Delta lost money, this year's going to be worse.
We made the decision to go out this year, in the spring. So my son will not be the seventh generation on our farm.
We're going to lose 25 or 30% of the farmers in this country if they don't do something. It has to be done, and it's not just here. It's everywhere.
Now, I know not everybody in Arkansas is a Republican or a MAGA voter. But remember, Kankles McTaco Tits won that state by nearly 30 points. So the majority of people in Arkansas voted for this. And now these farmers, many of which have been farmers for several generations in their family, are finding that due to climate issues, deregulation, Trump's tariffs, and immigration crackdowns, they are losing a good 30% of their crops. And this is affecting farmers in many negative ways. The biggest one is that the largest agricultural export of ours is soybeans, and now it's at a 20-year low. But the sad thing is that a lot of these people still voted for him in November, even though he already did this to them once. In Trump's first term, he fucked over the farmers so badly, he had to issue $32 billion in bailouts. Only now he's telling them, suck it up, loser. And the hilarious part about this is, remember when Mike Johnson and the other Republicans in Congress were saying, you know, we need you guys to come out and vote in the midterms because if there are Democrats get control of Congress, Trump might get impeached again. That's now starting to work against them because all the people who are turning against Donald Trump are now using that as an encouragement to come out and vote so he does get impeached again.
So I don't know if you guys have seen, but farmers are really struggling right now. I've seen plenty of videos from farmers on this app pleading with the Trump regime to give them help because the tariffs are ruining families and farmers. And I would just like to remind you guys that J.D. Vance co-founded a company called Acre Trader that allows venture capitalists to pool their money together and buy up farmland. Now, I have a question for you. Do you think it's a coincidence that now all of a sudden, generational farmers are now losing their farms? See, MAGA thought they were going to drain the swamp, but in reality, they just gave it to the alligators.
The Arkansas farming crisis, the Florida farming crisis, basically the farming crisis that is sweeping the United States of America. Okay, so I'm in my truck, buckle your seatbelt, we're going to go on this and we're going to do something totally outrageous. We are not going to mention politics on here. We're not going to sway one way or the other on it. We're not. Now, if you're not up to date on this, you want to get up to date on it, here's the download real quick. Basically, everybody's saying because of the tariffs, the row crop farmers, your soybean farmers, your tomato farmers, corn farmers, everything's at an all-time low. It hasn't been that low since the 1970s. They're selling for the same price, which would be $8 in today's economy from the 1970s. It's like $2.36 for a bushel of corn, something like that. I don't know. I'm not a row crop farmer. I'm a cattle farmer. We can get into that later. Right now, cow crop's pretty good for the cattle market, okay? We make a lot of money. It's great. It's not gonna last forever. Here's the thing. Farming was never intended for anybody to get rich off of. Well, let's make that point number one. Actually, let's make another point that's number one. For all of you think you know anything about farming, if you're on TikTok, there's a 90% chance you don't know crap about farming. You don't. End of story. You ain't never seen a farm unless you drove past one. And just because you go past one doesn't mean you've ever stepped foot on one. And just because you accidentally stepped foot on one when you was a kid does not make you a farmer. It doesn't. Get over yourself. I've seen all the videos. Oh my God, they're asking for bailouts now. They're asking for handouts. How's it feel now with hands on the other foot? That's crap. And I want to explain why. But everybody right now is saying that because of the tariffs, they cannot make money. They're laying off employees. They're losing their farm. 1 out of 3 farmers in Arkansas are going out of business that are row crop farmers, and that's a bad deal, and that's a serious situation. That's nothing anybody needs to be jeering for. The fact that we jeer for another people to fail in America is terrible.
Do people really think that so many of us woke up unprovoked one day and just said, I want farmers to lose their farm. I want them to lose their family business. Just no reason, out of the blue, just want these people's way of life to be destroyed? Because that's what I'm seeing on so many of these sob stories of farmers, and the hardship that they're facing is that, woe is me, people are attacking me. What is going on? Don't you know what happens when farms go down? I understand it's not a pretty scene, but we didn't just wake up and say, oh, get those farmers, they need to pay. There's a reason. And if they don't learn their lesson, they will never come back around. That is something that unfortunately they're going to have to face the consequences of their action. Why are they more important than the migrant who does not have their documents, who is not suckling off the government teat for millions of dollars of subsidies? Why are these farmers so much more important and should be bailed out? This is a consequence of their action. We should just let everybody run amok. Why does this country have so many jails? We love holding people accountable for things, right? So why should the farmers not be accountable? Why should any of these other people who run into the buzzsaw that is Donald Trump after voting for him and his policies when they knew everything he was going to do, why should they be let off the hook? I don't understand it. I've made several videos about the farmer situation. I'm about done with it, but I'm tired of hearing the violin music and the sob songs about these farmers and what they're going to lose and how we shouldn't be doing that and how that's mean and how that's too far and we don't know the consequences. If they're not taught a lesson, they won't learn the lesson. I don't know what else to tell you. So farmers in Indiana, Arkansas, Iowa, I don't care. If you voted for Donald Trump and you're experiencing financial hardships because of the policies that that man is enacting that he told you he was going to enact, that is an FAFO, and I will never feel sorry for somebody like that.
Not the way it's intended to be. It's shame on us as a society that we've came that far. Now, here's the big thing. We're going to not make this political. Let's talk about 3 things right now. The first thing is that you cannot do this with interest rates the way that they are. You cannot pay 6, 7, 8% for land and expect to make it. You cannot expect to pay the bank 6, 7, 8% for equipment. You can't do it. You can't expect for my cows I bought the other day 9% interest rate. Got good credit. You cannot expect to do that. You got your land, you got your equipment, you got your crops / your cattle. You got other expenses without your main three that you're going to take out. You cannot possibly imagine having to do all three. Interest rates are way too high. Second problem, everything is too high. Your land has skyrocketed. They're not making any more of it. You know what they are making more of? Equipment. Your equipment is way too freaking high, and they're constantly changing stuff. Row crop farmers, I cannot believe y'all have crap you cannot work on. That is shame on y'all. The fact that you can sit in a tractor, type in all these coordinates, and it literally drive itself around the field, but you still have to sit in it. That's ridiculous. I'm not a row crop farmer, I'm not. But that is stupid. If it breaks, you cannot work on it, and you've got to send it off to a dealer. You have to buy another $500,000 piece of equipment, and that is ridiculous, and that is a shame on them. I'm sorry, that's my opinion on it. Once again, I recognize I am not a row crop farmer. I'm sure it's more convenient. I'm sure your grandpas are rolling in their freaking graves because of this shit, and that is part of what is your problem. I'm calling out everybody on both sides. I saw a guy on TikTok that says, all my land's paid for, all my stuff is paid for. Everything I work with is paid for, and I'm barely making it. Welcome to farming. Welcome to farming. That is what farming is supposed to be. Nobody ever freaking got into farming thinking they was going to be millionaires. Your big cattle corporations, your big everything that's big corporation was probably, my best guess, a shell company that they needed to lose money off of, and they bought it and they lost money, but guess what? They was so big, so powerful, they eventually finally turned a profit with it because they just absolutely hammered it. Because that guy that has everything paid off, his tractor's 50 years old, guess what? When it breaks down in the field, he can repair it. You cannot do that if your new $500,000-$600,000 tractors break down. Because if like anything else, I'm going to take a wild guess and say that if you work on it and you screw it up worse, your warranty's voided.
Well, the Democrats were right again, and it turns out the farmers of Iowa are completely shit out of luck, specifically because they voted for Trump, okay? Because his policies have double fucked them, okay? Starting with USAID. Now, you might say, why would USAID be connected to the farmers of Iowa? Well, turns out that USAID was one of their most reliable customers. We were spending up to $2 billion every year buying soybeans from them and then shipping them overseas to feed poor, starving children. Until our Christian president got in office and he said, "What? We are sending food overseas to feed hungry children? For Christ's sake, shut that down immediately." Well, in doing that, they have now taken away the second largest, most reliable customer for these soybean farmers in Iowa. Now, who was their number one customer? Well, it used to be China. And up until recently, they were buying 60% of our soybean exports out of America. But Daddy Trump came in and jacked up these tariffs, started a trade war with China, and now these soybean farmers have lost their number one customer. So now these soy boys are sitting on a Scrooge McDuck level of soybeans with absolutely nobody to sell them to. And that is why they are begging Daddy Trump for a bailout and for him to cut the shit with China so we can get rid of these tariffs. You know, it's amazing. Trump supporters put him in office hoping that he would just ruin the lives of all the people who they hated. But they didn't realize that Trump isn't on their team. He's on Team Billionaire, not on Team Farmer or Team Trucker or Team Everyday American. He only cares about rich people. Anyway, happy Sunday, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed your weekend. Football is back. Hell yeah, very exciting for all of us who are still able to watch it, despite the fact that there are male cheerleaders now. No. Anyway, guys, I love you. I'll be back tomorrow. Talk to you soon.
We got interest rates too high, and we got land rates that are way too high. Just equipment prices in general. The third problem is that everybody that makes equipment is constantly trying to make something that is new and better. Hence, going back to your GPS on your tractors and crap. That's stupid. I cannot believe that. Anyways, whatever. A tractor, just a normal tractor that's bought, nothing fancy. All right, my dad's got a tractor, 10-year-old. Number one, you can't pull start it. Didn't know that till I went to tell him. He said his tractor won't start. I said, well, I'll pull start you. He said, can't do that, son. He said, he'll tear up my tractor. I didn't know that. That's crazy. Also, his tractor's, what, 10 years old? He went to go get a new front end loader for it. They do not make a front end loader for that tractor anymore. You cannot get a new front end loader for the tractor. You're constantly, John Deere, New Holland, Kubota, everybody's constantly making new shit and putting new shit together, and people have to go take out huge loans, which have huge interest rates because they have such huge prices attached that nobody can do it. It's not just the tariffs. The tariffs were the icing on the cake. It was the icing on the cake. No, they didn't vote for the tariffs to put them out of business. They voted because everything's so dang expensive. And this has been coming and coming and coming. The tariffs hurried up the process because it was an unsustainable practice that everybody, including the farmers, helped themselves create because they bought into it. That is the truth. And guess what? We talk about cattle prices. We're buying into it. We're all so excited. We're not keeping heifers back. You got the New World Screwworm down in Mexico. They've shut off cattle from the border. We've got the lowest beef numbers by like 50 million, I think. It's stupid how low our beef numbers are. I'm a small-time beef farmer, and I know this isn't going to last forever. It's stupid. And we're going to crash and burn. Because guess what? They're going to eventually open up to other countries. They're going to flood the beef in, and it's going to sink all of our prices down lower at the grocery store, which means our guys aren't going to want to buy our cattle at the sale barn, no matter how good they are, because they're going to go for lower prices when they can actually get them. And here's what really sucks, is the beef prices aren't going to go down. You want to know how I know that? I'm still paying $9.50 for a bag of 50-50 feed up there. They're selling it for $2 a bushel. When's that going to hit me? It ain't going to hit me. There's always going to be corn. They're going to get it somewhere. They're going to get meat somewhere. Farmers, this one was on us. We bought into it. Everybody helped, but we bought into it. And right now, I hope the row crop farmers pull out of it. I hope they get their bailout. But I hope we learn and we go back to the older practices, because the way we're doing agriculture right now is not sustainable.